Hi there, and welcome back to the Creators MBA Show. I am Dr. Destiny Kopp, and before we dive in, I want to give you a quick heads up about this episode because it is a little bit different from my usual format. I recently published an article on my website called The New Buyer You Are Not Optimizing For. And it's about something I think every digital product creator needs to understand right now. And that is AI shopping agents. So tools like ChatGPT's Agent Mode, Google's Buy For Me are already purchasing products on behalf of real customers. And the research on how they make those decisions is absolutely fascinating. So I ran the article through Notebook LM, and what came out was this really engaging conversation between two AI hosts breaking down the key findings in the article. And I thought it was really worth sharing. It's an easy listen, and the insights are immediately actionable. So that's what you are about to hear. And after you listen, I'd love to know what you think. And if you want to read the full article with the 5-step audit, I'm going to link to that in the show notes. All right, here's the conversation.
I want you to imagine something for a second. You have spent years, literally years, perfectly crafting an online storefront. You know, you've dialed in the copy, you've uploaded all these high-resolution images.
And painstakingly gathered glowing reviews. I mean, doing everything right.
Exactly. You've built this brand aesthetic that feels entirely your own. You are doing everything right by the traditional playbook. But then you realize that the customer walking through your digital door isn't a human anymore. It's an algorithm.
Right. And that algorithm, it completely ignores your carefully curated aesthetic. I mean, it does not window shop. It does not browse.
Yeah.
It just executes.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today, our mission is to unpack a massive paradigm shift happening right now in e-commerce, the rise of AI shopping agents.
It's huge.
We are exploring how these tools evaluate products, how they make final purchasing decisions on our behalf, and really why anyone selling anything online needs to completely rethink discoverability.
Because it fundamentally rewrites the rules of digital commerce. So to guide us, we are examining this brilliant April 2026 article by Dr. Destiny Kopp.
Right, from Creators MBA.
Exactly. It's titled, The New Buyer You're Not Optimizing For. And she breaks down this fascinating, unreleased December 2025 study from researchers at Columbia and Yale University.
Yeah, the researchers basically ran thousands of test scenarios across multiple product categories just to map out the hidden buying biases of these agents.
Which is wild when you see the results.
It really is. But before we get into the tactical side of, how you actually optimize a digital storefront for a machine, we need to establish the shift itself. We are moving away from an era of search engines and entering an era of decision engines.
And that distinction is everything. Look at the tools already live or rolling out, to mainstream users right now. You have ChatGPT's Agent Mode, Google's Buy For Me, Amazon's Rufus.
Yeah, they are everywhere.
They are. This raises an important question. How does an agent actually differ from traditional search?
Well, traditional search gives you options, right?
Exactly. Traditional search surfaces a ranked list of options for a human to look at. The human synthesizes the information, gets distracted, clicks around, and makes the final call. An AI agent eliminates those options entirely.
Wow.
Yeah, it evaluates the landscape based on its own internal hidden biases and simply executes the transaction.
It's like hiring a hyper-literal personal shopper who absolutely refuses to window shop.
Yeah.
They walk into the marketplace with an incredibly rigid checklist, and they just don't care about the mood lighting or the background music.
Or how witty your packaging is. They don't care at all.
Right. If your product does not explicitly match the strict mathematical parameters of their prompt, you simply do not exist to them.
And that is a terrifying prospect if your entire marketing strategy relies on, catching a human buyer's eye. You're no longer competing for attention in a crowded list of results. You are competing to be the singular output of a language model.
Which brings us to a major hurdle. If an algorithm is doing the shopping, how do you even know what it wants? Okay, let's unpack this. Does that mean clever brand-forward naming is completely dead?
Mostly, yeah.
Are we just naming things rectangle box for stuff? Now to appease the machines.
You're actually not far off. The biggest takeaway from the Columbia and Yale study is the hypersensitivity these models have to specific words, and more importantly, the exact positional order of those words.
Wait, the order matters that much?
It's the difference between a sale and total invisibility. I mean, the researchers tested this across 8 different product categories.
Okay, give me an example.
Let's look at their primary one. It was a physical product listed as Sunmurray floor lamps for living room.
Sunmurray is the brand, right?
Yes. Now, to a human brain, that string of text is perfectly fine. We instantly parse that Sunmurray is the brand and thy object is a lamp.
Right. Our brains naturally filter out the brand name to get to the core object. We just skim it.
But an LLM doesn't read like a human. When the researchers slightly tweaked that title to Sunray office floor lamp, the results were staggering.
What happened?
When a simulated buyer prompted the AI to find an office lamp, that single positional title change led to an 80 percentage point increase in selection by GPT 4.1.
Well, wait, let me stop you there. 80 percentage points.
Yes, an 80-point jump.
That feels like an absurd leap just for slapping the word office in front of floor lamp. So if the buyer asks for an office lamp, and the very first tokens the AI encounters are a brand name it doesn't care about, followed by a vague category like floor lamps,
Yeah.
it just drops it.
Its mathematical probability of matching that listing to the prompt plummets instantly.
That is wild.
The AI needs to see intent clarity in the very first few tokens. If the primary use case doesn't hit immediately, the model simply moves on.
So it's not reading my beautifully crafted 500-word product description.
Not at all. It isn't going to read all that to find a hidden gem the way a patient human might. It filters ruthlessly by early intent tokens. And this wasn't an isolated quirk with ChatGPT either.
Did they test other models?
Yeah. The study showed Gemini 2.5 Flash saw a 52-point increase in selection with that exact same title tweak. And Claude Opus 4.5 saw a 41-point increase.
So the primary use case literally is to sit at the front of the line. So, okay, hacking the tokens gets you past the initial gatekeeper. You match the prompt.
Right, you make the cut.
But making the initial cut is only half the battle. How does an emotionless algorithm decide what is actually a good or reliable product among the survivors?
Well, that is where trust signals come in. And to understand this, you really have to look at how these agents were built in the first place.
Training data, right.
Exactly. They are trained on unfathomable amounts of human data. Because of that, they inherently mimic human trust patterns.
I mean, I see the logic there, but what does that look like in practice? An AI doesn't feel relief when it sees a 5-star review.
No, it doesn't feel anything. But it assigns a massive mathematical weight to the exact metrics that humans value.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, the researchers found that basic human trust metrics heavily sway the AI's final selection. Get this, a mere 0.1 increase in a product's rating measurably raises its likelihood of being chosen.
Wait, really? Just a 0.1 delta. So the jump from a 4.6 to a 4.7 is a huge deal to the algorithm.
It can literally be the deciding factor between two functionally identical products. And it extends way beyond just the star rating, too.
What else does it look for?
The models heavily index platform-specific trust badges. Labels like bestseller, our pick, or highly recommended. These act as incredibly effective social proof signals for the AI.
Because in the AI's training data, human buyers consistently chose products with those badges.
Exactly. The algorithm is just mathematically formalizing our own psychological biases.
So it is mirroring human behavior.
Yes, it is mirroring human behavior, but, and this is a massive but, it mirrors human behavior with one glaring, highly counterintuitive exception.
Oh man, I have a feeling this is going to upend a lot of marketing budgets.
It already is. This study revealed that labeling a product as sponsored actively reduces its chances of being chosen by an autonomous agent.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because historically, paying for a sponsored tag has been the ultimate VIP pass.
Right. It's how you win.
You pay the platform, and you get artificially boosted to the top of the search results where the human eyeballs are.
And for human buyers, that visibility totally works. But for an AI agent, that sponsored tag acts as a negative signal.
Why? I thought platforms design their algorithms to prioritize the very ads that make them money.
Well, they do for search, but these decision agents underwent rigorous reinforcement learning from human feedback, RLHF.
Okay, what did that teach them?
During that training phase, human testers routinely skipped over sponsored results to find the most organically relevant, high-quality answers.
Oh, because humans hate ads.
Exactly. The AI learned that sponsored heavily correlates with lower organic relevance or paid interference. So it baked that behavioral quirk into its own mathematical weights.
It's like paying to wear a neon sign to a VIP club that tells the bouncer, hey, I bribed my way in. And instead of letting you through, the AI bouncer actively kicks you out because it's programmed to only let in authentic VIPs.
That's a great way to visualize it. The sponsor tag literally becomes a negative coefficient in the AI's relevance scoring.
That is crazy.
Dr. Kopp points out that while running paid placements might still keep you visible to the dwindling number of humans who are manually browsing, it will actively penalize you when an agent is doing the shopping.
So what does this all mean? We have established that the agent filters by exact early tokens, demands high review velocity, and aggressively rejects paid placements. How does a listener actually apply this? Especially someone like a digital creator selling courses, templates, or software on platforms like Shopify or Etsy. I mean, they aren't selling floor lamps. How do they audit their own storefronts based on this data?
It requires a fundamental shift in philosophy. Creators need to move from designing for persuasion to designing for precision.
Okay, precision.
Yeah. Dr. Kopp outlines a highly practical set of audit steps specifically for digital creators to adapt to this.
Let's walk through that playbook.
Yeah.
Should a creator literally be surveying their email list to figure out if their specific audience uses ChatGPT more than Claude or Gemini?
Absolutely. Because as the data showed, different models weight these positional tokens and trust signals differently.
Oh, so they aren't all identical under the hood.
Not at all. Claude Opus 4.5, for example, is known to process nuanced, longer tail context slightly better than earlier GP2 models, whereas Gemini might heavily favor bulleted feature lists.
Good to know.
Knowing what your buyer's agent is running on gives you a baseline, but regardless of the model, step one of the audit is always the same. Rewrite your titles to prioritize intent clarity over brand identity.
So if I'm selling a digital product called the Brand Builder Bundle, I'm essentially invisible to an agent.
Completely invisible. The AI doesn't know what brand builder means in a functional sense. You need to strip away the cleverness.
So what should it be?
Change it to something like Canva social media templates for wellness coaches. Lead with the software it uses, the exact output it provides, and the specific niche it serves. The brand name, if you must include it, goes at the very end.
Clarity over cleverness. Got it. What is step 2?
Step 2 is systematizing your review collection. We know that a 0.1 rating increase can flip an algorithm's decision, right?
Right. The tiny margin matters.
So you cannot just hope people leave reviews. Creators need to implement aggressive, automated sequences, like an email trigger 7 days after a digital download, specifically requesting a rating.
Because otherwise you're just invisible.
Exactly. If you aren't doing this, you are starving the algorithm of the exact trust signals it's looking for.
And I imagine step 3 involves those trust badges we discussed.
Yes. If your platform offers any sort of organic labeling like instructor recommended, most popular, top rated, you need to figure out the platform's specific criteria to earn them and make that your primary goal.
Because the AI is actively hunting for those.
The AI is scanning the metadata for those exact strings of text as a proxy for human trust.
Okay, I have to ask about pricing, which I assume is step 4. Because humans are notoriously irrational about pricing. We see a 1% price drop like the course goes from $100 to $99, and our brains magically process it as a massive bargain.
We all fall for it.
Right. Does the AI fall for the 99-cent trick?
It doesn't. And this is where the evolution of the models is incredibly apparent. The researchers tested identical products where one was priced just 1% lower. Well, older AI models used to get tripped up by this. They viewed the mathematically lower integer as the objectively better value. But newer models resist it entirely.
How do they resist it? Do they just ignore price?
No, they evaluate price contextually rather than absolutely. Newer models have significantly larger parameter counts and much deeper reasoning capabilities.
So they see the bigger picture.
Yeah, they look at historical price data, feature sets, and market averages. So the $99 trick does nothing.
Wow.
However, they will ruthlessly filter out significantly more expensive items if those items lack clear tokenized differentiators.
Wait, explain that part. Tokenized differentiators.
Let's say you are selling a social media template for $100 and a competitor sells a functionally similar one for $20. The AI evaluates the feature tokens of both listings side by side. If your text doesn't explicitly justify why yours is premium-like, includes video tutorials or a commercial license or one-on-one support, The AI just assumes it's an inefficient purchase.
And it drops you.
Yeah, it filters you out before the human ever even sees it.
So you don't have to race to the bottom on price, but you absolutely have to spell out your premium features using the exact terminology the AI is scanning for.
Precisely. You have to feed the model the justification.
Man, I am putting myself in the shoes of a creator right now. I've listened to this. I've spent my entire weekend rewriting my product titles for precision. I've set up automated review flows, and I've explicitly justified my premium pricing. I am optimized.
That's great.
But the landscape is a moving target. These models update constantly.
They do. The decision-making logic shifts significantly between versions. The study explicitly noted that the weights applied by GPT 4.1 look very different from earlier iterations.
This sounds exhausting. Are creators supposed to make a full-time job out of chasing the algorithm every single time a GPT 5.1 or a new Gemini drops? I mean, if the rules of the game change every 3 months, my storefront could break overnight.
It's a completely valid fear, but if we connect this to the bigger picture, it becomes a system rather than a scramble. Dr. Kopp frames this adaptation within what she calls the creator growth flywheel.
Tell me about the flywheel.
Optimizing for AI agents isn't meant to completely replace your traditional SEO or your social media strategy, at least not yet. It is simply a new, highly specific layer in the attract stage of your business.
So it's an addition, not a replacement.
Right. And to manage the constant model updates, Dr. Kopp recommends abandoning the idea of being perfectly optimized at all times. Instead, you adopt a quarterly testing schedule.
So just checking in every few months.
Yes. Every quarter, you take your top 3 highest revenue products, you open up the latest versions of ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini, and you act as your own target customer.
That's smart.
You prompt the AI to solve the exact problem your product solves. If your product isn't the one the agent recommends, you analyze the output it did provide. Figure out what tokens or trust signals the winning product had, and then adjust your listings.
Okay, a localized quarterly test on just your top products. That is significantly more manageable than overhauling your entire catalog every time OpenAI holds a press conference.
It really is. And here is the urgency behind doing this. Now, most businesses still treat AI shopping agents as a futuristic concept. They think it's years away.
But it's literally happening right now.
It is rolling out to mainstream interfaces today. Creators who systematize this quarterly checkup right now are going to build a compounding advantage.
Because while your competitors are still trying to figure out why humans aren't organically discovering their clever brand builder bundle, you have already captured the AI's attention by explicitly stating what your product is.
Exactly.
And when agent-based shopping becomes the absolute default, which, let's be real, is happening incredibly fast, you will already be hard-coded as the preferred choice in the algorithm's weights.
You build a moat before anyone else even realizes there's a castle to defend.
Let's summarize this for everyone listening, because this is a fundamental shift in how we think about digital commerce. The core message is that AI agents are a completely new species of buyer.
They really are.
They do not browse. They do not appreciate your branding. They demand precise intent matching in the very first few words of your title. They rely heavily on review velocity, and they trust organic social proof over paid placements. In this algorithmic world, absolute precision beats clever persuasion every single time.
But, the silver lining here is that the foundation of a great product hasn't changed. If you have a genuinely good offering that solves a specific problem, you just need to translate its value into the language the machine understands.
The stakes have simply evolved. The algorithm is now the gatekeeper to the human wallet. Spending an afternoon rewriting your titles today could literally be the reason the AI selects your product 6 months from now. View your storefront through the eyes of the machine.
It is the only way to survive the shift to decision engines.
As we wrap up, I want to leave you with a thought, something the study touched on, but left kind of open-ended. We talked extensively about how these AI agents are hardwired through their training data to actively deprioritize and reject sponsored products.
Right. They view paid placements as inherently less trustworthy than organic results.
They kick the bribing bouncer out of the club.
Exactly.
So, think about this. What is going to happen to the multi-billion-dollar advertising revenue models of tech giants like Google and Amazon when human browsing goes entirely extinct?
That is the million-dollar question.
If autonomous agents refuse to click the sponsored links, does that entire foundational economic model of the internet just collapse? Think about that the next time you see a sponsored tag at the top of your screen. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Go audit those titles, systematize those reviews, and we will catch you next time.
Thanks for listening all the way to the end. I hope you enjoyed this episode today. If you loved the show, I'd appreciate a review on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast platform. Have a great rest of your day, and bye for now.